Hi, and welcome to Poppin' Conversations, the podcast series where we keep it
relatable, ridiculous, and realer than we probably should.
I'm Shakara, and I'm here with my amazing mother.
Hello, everyone. I am her amazing mother.
And if you caught our first episode, thank you so much for coming back. We're so excited to be here with you. Today's topic is really personal and emotional, so I'll go ahead and let you get going.
So, in our first episode, we mentioned that in this episode, we would take a deeper dive into my whole breast cancer diagnosis and the choices I made, the lessons I've learned, my faith, my family that got me through all of this. So, that's what we're going to be talking about. In April, after having a conversation, actually we were all at the table, Shakara, my nieces, and myself, we were just casually talking about girl things and, doing annual breast exams and the importance of doing those exams. And I just mentioned hey, I'm on the back end of that. I'm going into perimenopause, so I don't necessarily do those exams like I once did when I was younger. Shakara mentioned that I used to have a placard in the shower, and that would be my reminder. And so that evening, I decided to do an actual self exam, and that's when I found the lump.
So what was your immediate reaction? So let's take us back to when you found that lump. What was your immediate reaction?
Stunned, shocked, and I kind of paused no, that's not what I just found. And so when I finished, I did it again. I felt it again. I was like, and a wow, so real moment, shock.
So once you found it, what was your next steps like?
Trying to figure out how it happened, why it happened, trying not to cry. So once I gathered myself, it was the weekend, of course. And so I knew the first thing I had to do is call and try to get a exam scheduled. I didn't know next steps. I found it. I had already had my physical in January. This was April. So on Monday, I called who I thought I should be calling, which was to get a mammogram. I called and they told me that I needed to get a referral from my doctor in order to get what they considered, which would be a comprehensive mammogram. So then I called my doctor, and then they had to try to get me in so I can get the referral. Luckily, my doctor had an appointment and got me in the same day. We got the referral. This is crazy, y'all. We got the referral. And I called them back, and my doctor faxed it over. And so they got me scheduled. Now, remember, I told you I found this in April. Mm-hmm. They gave me the appointment for my comprehensive exam for June.
Wow.
Almost 2 months later. So I had to wait 2 months before they could even go in to do a mammogram. And then once they did that mammogram, during that time, they said something like, oh, you need another referral, or your doctor didn't check a box because now you need a biopsy done. So instead of at the same time of my doctor doing this referral, I had to wait. So then that delayed it for 2 weeks. And all these things are going through your head, and you're scared and you're crying, and you know you got a lump, and you figure it's growing, and it's like, oh my God, what's going on? I had a dream that night that I was going to have a scar on my chest and have a bandage and everything. God spoke to me in a vision, and I'm like, I'm about to go away for my 50th birthday party. I know we're going to be swimming and going to the beach. And so even though in hindsight, I was disappointed that they made me wait for that second referral for them to do the biopsy, everything they said was true. So we go on vacation, come back from vacation, and I get the biopsy done. And they're taking 2 biopsies. They're going to take a biopsy where they put an ultrasound on you, an ultrasound biopsy, and they stick a needle, and they draw out 5 samples. And then they take you in another room, and then they do a mammogram biopsy. And it was doing that mammogram that they could not move forward. Mm-hmm. And at that time, they told me it would cause more harm than good if they proceeded. And it's during that time that I realized I had cancer, because it started with one person, just the radiology tech. Then she called the second person. Then she called the doctor.
It was the reaction from the team as
well. It was the team, too, because it doesn't take all that to just do a biopsy. And so then my nurse came in, who I have been talking to on the regular since all this started. And she came in, I think she was a distraction in the room. So she came in and started talking, and her question was to the team, if from the first biopsy that you did when you took the samples, if you can't get enough from that to determine whether it's benign or not, will you still have to call her back to do the regular mammogram biopsy? And the doctor's response was, we're just about certain from the first biopsy that it's going to be like, she said a name. And when I got home, I looked up that name, and that name said that it was cancer. So all I was waiting for them to tell me is what stage of cancer it was.
Yeah.
So then that took another week or so, and they did tell me, they said the results are going to be loaded in the system before a doctor can tell you. So if you don't want to see it, don't log into your MyChart, because you're going to log into MyChart and you'll see it before we actually give you a phone call to confirm what it is. So
did you wait?
No. I wanted to know before anybody else. So I logged into MyChart. As soon as I got a MyChart notification that you have a new message. And I took a deep breath. And, you got to get past all the mumbo jumbo. And then I got to it, and it said that you have breast cancer. It's told what stage and all these other things. I was looking up stuff. So before I even told you and Dad about it, I was already researching and everything, so I could tell everybody and be as educated as I was. My doctor told me at that time, she said, no matter what, make a decision and stick by it. Lumpectomy is where they just remove the lump. A mastectomy is where they just move one breast. A double mastectomy is what I had, where they remove both breasts. She said, so when you get in that room with that team of doctors, you know what you want, and nobody is making that decision for you. So I knew day one, once they found it, and once I read that my cancer was very aggressive, I knew at that time that I was going to have the double mastectomy. I chose not to do reconstruction surgery personally for various reasons. I did all my research, the age, the having to go back for more tests. It was too traumatic for me to just want to just keep going. So I was like, I'm not doing it. So I decided to do the double mastectomy for personal reasons for me. Because I don't want to have to keep going back. Whether it's every 3 months, 6 months, or whatever, to see if the cancer cells are growing. This way I know it's done. It's done.
Yeah.
To me.
Mentally, it seemed like that would be tough. Like, it could be anything, and your mind is going to always jump to there. So I absolutely can understand what that would feel like, as far as your thought process of just wanting them removed versus not. But what would be your advice to other people in making such a big decision, but making sure that you're making it for yourself?
So for me, I did my own homework. I did talk to Pete, which is my husband, because somebody mentioned, well, some guys are boob guys. And in my mind, I'm like, I don't care. Honestly, I'm like, I'm trying to save my life. A boob guy, that's the last thing what was really on my mind. But I did have that conversation. Because I wanted to know if he was a boob guy, then maybe I would consider it. But it was never top of mind. Never once. I was doing this for me and to save my life. And, I could have just had a lumpectomy. I could have just had a mastectomy. But the chemo is a preventive. So that's why I ended up having to have chemo. And I just want to say that chemo was worse than the cancer.
What was that experience like with chemo? Let's talk about it for a second. So, we see movies. I think that's the thing. I've seen so many movies and just sinners. And I never understood what happened. Thankfully, you were open enough to allow us to come and see what it was like. Of course, I don't know what you felt. I don't understand that experience for you. But it's just been so educational for all of us.
So let's just start with chemo. So at first, originally, before I got the mastectomy, they wanted me to do a year of chemo and radiation. And I just knew that would take me out. Like, I would just give up. So that was another determining factor in having a double mastectomy, because I figured if I did the double mastectomy, then I shouldn't have the need to have all that chemo and radiation.
Absolutely. Makes sense to me.
So after I decided to have the double mastectomy, then they cut it down to only 8 treatments. The first chemo treatment, both of them was awful. So they give you the list of different, possible side effects. So just to be aware, but not to be a hypochondriac about it, but for awareness. Chemo is harsh. They're putting a deadly poison in your body. And this is when it got real to me. We go to the hospital, we had the first treatment, and they load you up with all these medicines ahead of time. That's an indicator that you're about to take something powerful. When they got to preload you with steroids, preload you with antihistamines, so that if you have a reaction, they can kind of get in there before it gets too bad. So I get preloaded. But it was when that nurse put on that gown at hazmat. And I'm like, oh, wow, they put on hazmat suits around here? And she came to me and was like, I'm ready to do your chemo. I was like, why do you have them hazmat? And she said, because if any of that, they call it the red devil on the internet, get on her skin, it can burn through her skin.
Wow.
That's when I was done after that. And so then she told me, you have 45 minutes after we're done with treatment before you start feeling side effects. And it took us about 45 minutes between the time we stopped. He grabbed him something to eat, and them symptoms came on, and my God. You can have all of these symptoms, body ache. I mean, I'm talking about extreme, talking about flu on steroids. I'm vomiting. I'm nauseous. I can't stand up. I'm having a headache that turns into a migraine. And it's just all of these symptoms. Then they tell you on a piece of paper, if at all possible, if you have more than one bathrooms in your house, to use that separate bathroom. Make sure when you flush the toilet to close the lid so none of the poison that's coming out of your body splashes back up. Mm. So every time I use the bathroom, I close the top, then clean the toilet. My husband is using a separate bathroom for 48 hours after each treatment. You have to double bag the clothes that you have on for the next 48 hours. Then you have to wash your clothes twice by themselves. Wash your linen twice by themselves. Clean up everything. So this is every time after every treatment.
It's a lot.
It was a lot.
And you just had a double mastectomy. So you have first you have the diagnosis, the realization, the understanding, then your procedure, then you jump into chemo. How did you cope with all of this?
Don't talk about that port that they have that's still in my chest that has to be removed.
And the sutures. I mean,
the sutures. It has been overwhelming. The only thing that has sustained me is my faith, my family, and I've read some books on others who've done their journey with this and what they did. And look, I cried every day going to chemo. And then I literally cried on my way to chemo because I knew what was going to happen after the chemo stopped. I knew how I was going to feel. And it was, it was just too much. It's still too much because I'm not even done. I still got to get 2 more procedures done. And my body still got a year and they still tell me it's going to be a year. So it's awful.
It's been a long 6 months.
It's awful. I don't even know what to say besides, my God, nobody never told me after I got my mastectomy I wouldn't be able to walk. And then I had to use a walker and learn how to balance myself. It has been extremely too much. It's just been too much. And I wouldn't wish it on nobody. Like, I would not wish this on anybody.
It's a lot. It's been a lot. So we're not gonna
all I want to say is that as soon as you thought you felt like yourself or some semblance of what you wanted to feel like, it was time to go through all this shit again.
Yeah.
So be your own advocate. If you have to skip a treatment, it just means they're going to put it off. You're still going to get the same amount of treatment. So now the next phase is I have to get the port removed. Mm-hmm. And then once I get the port removed, then I have to go for a revision surgery. That's a whole nother topic. And then I have to start the recovery.
Where is your granddaddy?
We're recording, Kobe. Go back downstairs and tell Dad Pete to give you some more.
Where's your granddaddy?
Where's your granddaddy? You need to be recording this because this needs to be real. So we're in the middle of recording, and here comes our favorite daughter. She's going downstairs to ask her granddad to give her some more hot chocolate or chocolate milk. But this is the realization that we're in our studio.
Yeah.
And it says that we're recording.
They don't care.
They don't care.
They want us.
He don't care. She don't care. But
yeah, I just want to thank you for sharing your journey. I know it couldn't be easy. We've been through so much this year, but I think every family member, from the 2-year-olds to the 52-year-olds, have learned something. We treat people differently.
Mm-hmm.
We love and respect each other.
Mm-hmm.
And we truly, like, the love and the support from day one.
From everybody, from my family, to my friends, to my sorority sisters.
Has changed my life.
Has been beyond my wildest dream. If the amount of love. And I do things not for reciprocation. It's just who I am. If you need it and I got it, I'm giving it to you. But what I have gotten back during these months is unmatched to what I've given out. And in the midst of this, I lost my older sister. So they called, so she passed, and then the next day I had to go get chemo, y'all.
Mm-hmm. And then when you came back the next day, you had to go.
From having her memorial service, the next day I had to have chemo again. So I have not even processed properly my sister's death because I just had to keep going with chemo and I can't stop. So I did finish chemo on the 18th. Thank God. So now it's recovery. It's going into recovery because I still have to have some more procedures done and then I can start healing. So by my birthday, I should be done with any kind of surgery that I've had to have. And I should truly be in a recovery phase.
So in perspective, let's say, so 2 weeks ago was your last treatment.
Correct.
And then in about 6 months is your birthday.
Correct. I don't have to have any more chemo. I don't have to have radiation. They didn't find cancer anywhere else. So now it's just monitoring. Thank God.
Well, we appreciate you so much for sharing your journey. It's powerful. Powerful. And I know it's going to resonate with so many people. Please do your self-checks. If you see something, go get help. Speak up for yourself. Be your own self-advocate. And one day at a time.
One day at a time, one moment at a time. I still cry. I still yearn for my own body. You know, no matter how much our twins look like and what they did, we still want our twins.
But we're so happy to have you here.
Yeah, I think that's more important than anything, that I have me. Yeah. And I will never be the person I was prior to breast cancer. I'm a changed person. I have a different perspective. So thank you again for tuning in to this episode. Please follow us on YouTube at Poppin' Conversations, IG Poppin' Conversations. You know, write us a review. Tell us some things you would like to hear us talk about. Your different perspectives on if you had someone you love that went through cancer, or if you have questions, please send them. We will try to answer them as quickly as we can.
Absolutely, yes. Please send us any questions, any remarks, anything. We're here to help and just bring that conversation to a comfortable place, because we don't have a lot of people with these generations that we can speak to and ask questions to. For some reason in our community, we don't share. I'm sure because it's a lot. It's hard. As we see, it's hard to talk about these things. But we hope that we can cultivate an environment that makes it comfortable for us so that we can get past that and be better just for our generations, for our culture, and for our children. So see you guys next week as we indulge into our next episode, which is going to be about embracing the differences in mother-daughter relationships. So please tune in for that one.
That should be spicy because you know we have two different perspectives.
Very, very spicy. So until next time,
Thank you. See you guys.